I think, the same was, I think guys were excited right from the start, but we didn't really play together. I don't think we really understood our objectives defensively. And if you look at, say, from where we started to where we are now, well, first game we lost to AIC, and last game we beat Wisconsin. So that tells you something.
Could you imagine back in October finishing the season with a win over Wisconsin, and if so, what was the outlook that made you think that was possible?
I didn't think it was possible back then. But during the year, if you saw how hard the guys worked and how they gelled together as a team and how they cared about each other and this university, makes you believe that anything's possible. And I think we came a long, long way. I think we had a lot of fun doing it. And I think a big factor is everywhere we went, there were so many Penn Staters there that just supported us so well. And whether if it was at home, we had the student section, or if we were at Wilkes-Barre or Holy Cross or Wisconsin, I mean, we had Penn Staters there to cheer us on, and it was fantastic.
Can you quantify or put into words just how much of your foundation is set at this point? I mean, how far along are you in that process?
We have a ways to go. We know that there's areas that we have a lot of work to do left, but there are certain things I think we're further along. I think you always want a program that represents themselves very, very well and what the university is all about, and I think we have that. You look at the work that the guys did with Thon and how much that means to them, and I think in terms of passion for the university, I think we have that, and that's never going to leave. Yes.
Speaking of that confidence that you had coming out of the second intermission at Wisconsin, you said you guys were going to win. What made you so confident about being down already?
Well, that's a little misconstrued. I didn't say we were going to win. He asked me what the directive was in the locker room, and I said it was to win. So that's a bit of a difference, but if you want to say I predicted it, go right ahead.
We shouldn't be confusing
No, not at all.
Coach, you touched on it a little bit in terms of going to these Big Ten schools and going to NHL arenas. Outside of just the way the team played in itself, how do you think this program was promoted, and how well do you think you guys got your name out there in the nation this year?
I thought that was a great idea. It was a lot of fun, number one, and like I said before, everywhere we went, there was so many great Penn Staters cheering us on. I mean, the first win was at Wilkes-Barre, and there was 5,000 people there, and I think 98% of them were wearing, blue and white. It was fantastic, and all the way to Wells Fargo. I mean, there was over 19,000 fans at Wells Fargo, and you saw that a lot of those were blue and white, so that was tremendous. It was great to get our product out to everybody in Pennsylvania. I think they really appreciated it. And you know what? It turned out to be, maybe that's a factor as to why, I don't know, these guys just figured out when they were on a big stage, they played their best. And that was really cool against the toughest teams and in the most fun arenas. And I certainly, I don't know what it is that allows them to do that, but I sure like it.
With so many guys coming back next year also, how excited are you to see this sort of gel even further from a chemistry standpoint?
Yeah, we're jacked. I mean, if you look at the coaching staff, they're just pumped to continue this. I'm really going to miss this team. We talk about the excitement of the Big Ten Conference and Pagula Ice Arena, but I tell you what, we're really going to miss this team. It's not every team that just can gel and come through in the biggest times, and they've proved that time and again. So we're certainly going to miss this team, but we're so excited about what's going to happen in the future, not only the league that we're playing in, the building that we're playing in, but just where we're going. I think that we have a lot of good incoming freshmen, but I think the biggest difference is going to be the experience that this young team has got on big stages and the amount of work that they're going to do in the off season with our great strength coach. I think there's a lot of improvements, and it's going to be fun to watch.
If you were to list benchmarks, going into some of the specific benchmarks, what were some that were hit?
Yeah.
Maybe some that weren't hit this season?
Sure. Well, number one, no one knew if we would get a Division I win. That wasn't a given. So that one, the first one was a lot of fun. That's one. To beat a Big Ten opponent, I think, was something that no one gave us a shot at. That happened at Console in December. And then to go on the road in a Big Ten environment, to play on the road against a Big Ten school, to come away with not one win but two, those were certain benchmarks that I certainly didn't expect.
What about some that you were hoping for but didn't get
I think the ones that, again, we didn't judge this season on wins and losses. The results that we got were great. There's some things that the team, in terms of the foundation, we want to see do a little better job at. So there are some aspects, I'm not going to tell you what there are. There are a little bit of locker room things, but we do have some work to do. But again, in terms of results, we're thrilled.
To kind of jump off of that, it's a similar question, but like you said, the wins and losses weren't what was important. You're building the foundation and everything. But at the same time, there's something that could make you disappointed with how the season went, so which conversely means there's something that would make you satisfied. Can you speak to your satisfaction how it went out?
Well, sure. I mean, we're very satisfied, like I said before, that we really performed well on the biggest stage, and I give the guys a lot of credit. And not only did they perform well, they did it by coming back. So they showed a lot of grit, they showed a lot of character, and that was tremendous to see. On the other hand, we did have games where we expected that we would have a great result that we didn't. So I think that on one hand, you can show that you play very well on the biggest stage. On the other hand, I think we have to get better at playing in a situation where we're expected to win. Now, we might not come up against that in the next couple of years, but where this program is going, we certainly will get to a point where we're going to be playing some opponents where we're very much expected to win. So we have to show the mental toughness in that situation as well.
And besides the fact that the building wasn't finished when you began playing, at least my understanding was part of the reason that you didn't play in Pagula your first year was to kind of get your skates underneath you, so to speak, as a program. Do you feel like you're ready to make that shift over to that big stage every night?
I think we're getting there. I think the results that we got would speak more to that than I expected. I think we were, if you talk to Joe Batista, I don't want to speak for him, but I think that as things were laid out, we were supposed to have another year before the Big Ten Conference started, and we were going to use that. As it turned out that it all got bumped up a year ahead of time, that we were a little nervous that we were going into this too quickly. But if you see that, you get a lot of confidence by going into Munn Ice Arena and coming out with a win, or going into the Kohl Center and coming out with a win. So I think we're more prepared now and we're more confident now than we were, at the start of the year. That's for sure.
How big would you say a single win like that on the road can be to springboard into that next season?
When I was thinking about that, I think one win, it's fun. One win is fun. I think two wins gives you confidence. Anybody could say this happened or that happened. And one of the things I like about the Wisconsin situation is that they were 17th in the pairwise. So top 16 go to the NCAA tournament. So it was a situation where the game was very important to them. It wasn't just someone might say a Christmas tournament. These were important points for them, and we had to play extremely well. So in that sense, we do get confidence. It does mean a lot. I think you can say that you can draw on the experience that you were there. And that was the important thing. Going to those buildings wasn't just for a matter of a sake of getting games. It was to get the experience ahead of time so that it served you well in the future. And Bill Downey did a lot of the scheduling and was able to move that game to Wisconsin to the end of the year to give us a better sort of a final exam situation, to get us an idea of really where we were at. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think I can answer that. I think we have to see. I think possibly people overlooked us at the start of the year. That's definitely a possibility. I think now that's not going to happen. And I don't know if that would happen for conference play. I do recognize, we understand it's going to get tougher. We don't think that by any stretch that games, non-conference games, are going to have the same intensity, the same meaning as conference games. So, but to answer how big a factor that is, I don't know. We'll see. I tell you what, when you go to Pagula Ice Arena, you're going to see, very intense competition night in and night out. So we'll see how we do.
What are some of the things that you're going to be concentrating on in addition to conditioning for the guys for the next 6 or 7 months?
Well, we're allowed to practice with the team till the end of the tournament, so we have a lot of work to do, and we're going to use it. A lot of aspects. I could sit here for an hour to tell you everything that we're going to work on, but I think the guys are excited to do so, and there's individuals that have to work on different things than other guys. So it'll be a lot of individual skill work, but we'll try to get some stuff done as far as the team aspect as well.
Did things fall into place quicker than maybe you anticipated this season? Lines being comfortable together, things like that?
You know what? In that sense, yeah, I think there was certain personnel that I think anybody that looks at these guys during training camp will look at, for instance, the David Glenn line that ended up with Loic and Kenny Brooks, that they had similar traits and that everybody wanted to see them. I mean, when the coaching staff sat down after the first skate, everybody said, "I want to see them together." So things like that sort of took off. Whereas the Holstrom line, that sort of took a while. We fiddled around with different positions and different line mates, but they came together and after Christmas and did such a great job. I think one of their first times together really from the start of a game with Holstrom at center was with Ohio State at console. So that took a little bit longer. Did it happen quicker? I don't know. Some of those things like I mentioned with the David Glenn line, you see those things right away, and sometimes they evolve. But it was, in terms of a winning feeling, I guess, it happened our second game. I think that happened a lot quicker than any of us would have thought.
Coach, I had asked Mike Eaves after the 5-0 loss on Sunday what he thought you guys did well. He said something along the lines of, you guys work really hard, and I know at the beginning of the season you had said you didn't want to take a shift off. Do you feel like that happened?
I think he was lying to you. I don't think we did anything well on the 5-0 win, but it was nice of him to say that. I do think we have a strong work ethic. I don't think we showed it that night. I think that was one of the few nights that we dwindled instead of got stronger. But obviously, we made up for it on Monday night.
Then what was the difference between the two games? It was so dramatically different than based on what you're saying from playing. Paraphrasing your words, saying you didn't play well, but then on Monday night, actually coming back, showing character and winning.
What's the difference? You have to ask the guys that. I mean, coaches will take a lot of credit for different things and adjustments, but unless the guys have it in their heart to do something different, it's not going to happen. And that was their decision. I mean, it's easy to sit on the bench and to say what's going to happen, but it really takes the players to make a mental adjustment and to all commit to each other and doing all they took. And I think that's the difference. I don't think we really played for each other and emptied the tank, whereas I thought Monday night, I thought the guys just emptied the tank. And there's a big difference. And so to ask why that happened, I'll let you ask the guys that.
And then this year, there were a lot of, you still have one recruiting class, you said he was all freshmen basically. How does another recruiting class coming in, does that give you more weapons or does that just sort of fill out the roster? Does it add depth or does it just fill it in?
No, it adds a lot of depth. I mean, we're very excited about the freshmen that we have coming in and the holes that we're going to fill. So we have certain aspects that we want to get a little bigger, a little tougher up front. I think that's addressed. We want to get a little bigger, a little tougher on the back. I think that's addressed. We have great goaltending as it is right now, but we add someone to the depth there. So I think we've improved at every position. So it does fill holes, yes, but it also adds a lot of depth. I think there's going to be a lot more internal competition. It will raise the intensity of practice. It'll raise the focus of practices, and I think it'll give the guys extra motivation to make sure that they don't take a night off like you might have saw sometimes this year because they won't have the luxury of doing so next year.
And then sort of using all year you've been talking about Robert McLean's program and how knowledgeable he is. How did you see? I asked him earlier in the year what you thought how the team adapted. He said it was a process, but still working well. How did you see it?
I was nothing short of amazed with our strength program this year. Nothing short of amazed. It's really interesting how he went about his business. At the start, he even told me, he said, just a heads up, they're going to want to lift a lot more weights than we'll be lifting. They'll get frustrated at the start, and it was true, guys. He was working more on body composition and correct form, and guys wanted to get after it and lift weights. But when he was done, without exception, every one of them performed personal bests on not only basic strength moves, but more importantly, hockey-specific strength moves. So with his program, I've never seen before. I've been tracking this now for 15 years. That every time you have the highest results at the start of the season where guys get tested, that's when they're at their strongest and biggest, and then they sort of go gradually down until you're at playoffs and you try to hang on. And with his program, the exact opposite happened. We started at a pretty high level, but I think without exception, body composition improved, strength improved, and hockey-specific strength improved at amazing levels. I think that was one of the extreme high points of this season, and something that wow, is going to be a huge advantage if that can continue.
And then how did recruiting, with all that in mind, how did recruiting sort of change with the whole season going on? Now that games were played and Penn State sort of had a I don't want to say image, but
Yeah.
people were able to see Penn State play as opposed to just seeing a lineup on paper. How has recruiting changed this season?
I think there were some questions at the start as to, there were a number of recruits that expressed concern that we would not be able to compete by the time that they would graduate from Penn State. So we were trying to convince them otherwise, but you can talk all you want. I think when you see the program have success against the Big Ten schools that we've had in some of the big stages against a Hockey East opponent, I think that speaks for itself. So I hope the perception, well, I know the perception has changed. We don't get that question anymore. How are you possibly going to compete so early before I leave school? So that question has been eliminated, and I'm glad it has.
And then with all year you had said wins and losses. Obviously, Sunday night was kind of an echo of that, sort of how you played, and then the win was really gratifying. I could see it in the guys' eyes and whatnot. But now that you've had some time separated, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm most thrilled for the seniors. I mean, just think about this. When they came to Penn State and what they came for, the athletic experience that they came for, and they wouldn't, none of them could have ever dreamed playing Division I hockey at the time, let alone in the Kohl Center against Wisconsin, let alone victory, let alone overtime victory. I mean, it was just such a fitting end to this year. The seniors did a fantastic job. I have to give them a lot more credit than I think they deserve a lot more credit. The reason being is their tryout was 2 years long, and they couldn't mess up at all. If there was any character flaws or off-ice issues, they weren't going to be around. They actually had it harder than everybody else. So the guys that did graduate with our program really deserve a ton of credit. They've done a lot of things very, very well for 2 years, and to see them win in overtime at the Kohl Center in Wisconsin was just fantastic.
You said that you have until after the tournament to practice with these guys, but after that, I think that's what you said.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
After that, you've got an open chunk of time, and I believe that you said there's only 3 of you recruiting, and you pretty much just split the country into half, with you kind of chipping in wherever you can. How do you balance what you're trying to do here in the off season with, just being a presence in the rest of North America?
Yeah, it's very tough. It takes a lot of juggling. There's a lot of travel that we will do now, but that's where leadership comes in and building a foundation of a program. You're allowed to have ice time, and they'll have captain's practices. So hopefully they'll set standards that they'll get a lot of work done and have fun along the way too. But it won't just be a matter of going out and playing shinny. It'll be getting some work done. So we will, to answer your question, we rely on the leadership of the team.
Is this something that you've had mapped out for a while, how you want to approach this offseason?
Yeah. It's mapped out not necessarily by desire, but necessity. As you mentioned, we have a lot of traveling to do. So we don't have the personnel around that can go on the ice. We still are able to jump on the ice for a very limited time, but if you have great leadership and you can rely on your captains to run great practices, you can still get a lot of work done.
And personnel-wise, Scoffer, has been solid all year, but after this Wisconsin win, you can, peg a couple of these ones that have been, on his back a little bit. Can you talk about how far he's come and where you think he can go down the road?
Well, there's no, I mean, it really wasn't a surprise. If you ask any if you ask Coach Fisher, who scouted him, or any other scouts in the nation, there's no surprise about what Scoffer attained this season. I think the start of the year, I think he was a little nervous, and he should be. But after, I think, maybe the first 2 weeks, he was just phenomenal, and he's phenomenal. The thing I like best about him is his practice habits. He's one of the most fun goalies to practice against because he makes you want to score on him so bad. He japs with the guys a little bit. I think they have a blast with him, and I think it motivates him, and it's a competition every day. I love it, and he's very calm. He communicates a lot, but in a very calm way, and when he's feeling it that way, he's phenomenal, and one of the things that we're very happy to see that. However, you have to wonder in the back of your mind that at times he was just so good that you wonder if the wins that you got were a little bit skewed because he was just so phenomenal. But hey, it takes great goaltending to have success, and fortunately he's a freshman, so we're going to have that for another 3 years.
How did you guys evaluate him? I mean, where along the line did Fisher find him and evaluate him? You guys
He plays in the USHL, which is probably the best league right now, I believe, for college prep, and tremendous league with great athletes and great coaching, and he was very successful.
Building on that, how tough is the competition going to be next year with him? DJ played fairly well this year, and Amy playing.
I think it's great. I don't think anybody comes to Penn State to want to be given anything. I think they want to compete against the best. So just like every other position is going to get a lot more competitive, goaltending will as well. But that's the goaltenders have been, that's part of the way they've operated their whole lives. So it's nothing new to them. And I think if you were really to ask them what situation they'd rather be in, it's something that is a very competitive situation where it pushes them to be their best rather than just given something. So those are the goaltenders we want in this program, and I'm sure they'll deal with it very well.
You said you wouldn't really go after this question during the season, but now that it's over, do you think you would either go to a 3-rotation goalie, 2-rotation goalie, or let the competition play out preseason and then try to stick with one?
You know what? It's never as you plan. So we've sort of, as our coaching staff has operated, we're going to let the chips fall where they may. We're not going to have a plan going into it. We're going to see what happens. And all I can say is the more great goaltenders, the better.
How do you guys handle recruiting? Do you split it up position-wise? Do you split it up region or the country-wise? How does that work?
Well, it works at Coach Fisher and Coach Lindsay are phenomenal. I mean, they work so hard, they travel so hard. There's not very many times where we're in the same building at the same time during the season. So they're on the road a lot, and they divvy it up in regions, and then they'll have to cross over if by request. If they need another eye on a player, then they'll request for someone to go out there. So I think we're very fortunate. We have, in my mind, two of the absolute best in the business, and they've been this program is in very good hands with them. They do a great job. I go where they tell me.
Could you ballpark how many days a year they're on the road?
Boy, if you ask Mrs. Fisher, way too many.
Coach, I asked you in the beginning of the year if there was any possibility of you targeting European or
Yeah.
Russian players at all.
Yeah.
Is that still in the works?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's our plan. I'm not sure how quickly it will happen, but it will happen.